Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So although I've built tons of decks in my Commander career, if that's an actual thing, because of this channel and because of deck techs, I built quite a few, but only so many actually make my own personal collection. Now, you might have seen an episode I did a while back talking about the 9 decks that are in my personal collection, and I'm happy to say that I have finally added a 10th. Now, it's been quite a while. It's been at 9 for a long time, and I try to keep that number of decks low so, I can basically maintain the decks and, make sure that I'm still enjoying them and not just have, a pile of decks somewhere that I'm no longer using. But I'm really excited about this new one, and actually features 2 commanders from Commander Legends. I finally got all the cards last night. I sleeved it all up, and yeah, I felt like talking about today. So here we are. Let's jump into it, though. The commanders that I selected are Tormod the Desecrator and Kamahl, Heart of Krosa. Tormod the Desecrator is a 4/2 zombie wizard that costs 3 and a black. It says whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token, and obviously as partner. Kamahl, Heart of Krosa is a 5/5 human druid that costs 6 green. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. By paying 1 and a green until end of turn, target land you control becomes a 1/1 elemental creature with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. It's still a land, and it has partner. So yeah, this combination, you might see the synergy right there, but basically the goal of this deck is going to be to create a ton of tokens with Tormod, create a lot of zombies, and then, get Kamahl down, go to combat, and make them into 5/5s with trample. So yeah, basically get a lot of tokens out there through various means, and then smack your opponents. So yeah, actually the impetus of the deck came because of Tormod. Tormod, I really like this concept of whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a zombie. The fact that, it's one or more, which is limiting. So it's not just like, a giant graveyard exile all at once to get a ton of tokens, which is good, because that'd be probably a bit too powerful, but it is kind of one of those interactions where it counts any card out of your graveyard. It doesn't just count, a card exiling. It doesn't just count a card going back to your hand. It doesn't count a card going back into play. It counts all those interactions. And it also counts any type of card. There are certain other cards that kind of deal with only when creatures leave your graveyard or when other types of cards leave your graveyard. But yeah, this one, actually, it's mostly just creatures leaving your graveyard that do that. But yeah, this one counts all types of cards. So essentially, your goal of this deck is going to be to get a lot of cards in your graveyard and then to get them out of your graveyard through various means. And again, not all at once, but through kind of multiple ways to do so, if that makes any sense. We'll get to the cards here in a bit. Anyways, and then yeah, the finisher for the deck is Kamahl, Heart of Krosa, or one of the finishers, I should say. Getting it out, it's 8 mana, but by the time that you want to finish your opponent's off, you're going to be able to get that out. And then, yeah, get it out for basically a big overrun effect. And again, you can use that multiple turns if Kamahl sticks in play. Again, it triggers every combat. And then, all of your combats. And then basically, if you need those kind of extra little, pay 2 mana, make some lands, you can as well to get those 4/4s essentially with trample out there as well. Let's talk about the cards for this deck, though. The first ones that we're going to go over are ones that are going to be getting cards into your graveyard. Cards like Perpetual Timepiece, Skull Prophet, and Path of Discovery. Obviously, there's going to be more than just this, but these are just going to be the ones that I'm going to be highlighting. Perpetual Timepiece is an artifact that costs 2, tap it to mill 2, and then pay 2 and exile it to shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library. So this one can help out for multiple reasons. First off, milling 2 every single turn is going to be huge for a deck like this. Obviously, a repeatable mill effect like this is great for this kind of a deck. And then you can also pay 2 and exile it. You're usually not going to be doing this, unless you're desperate. But it also is great graveyard protection. So if someone tries to exile your entire graveyard, that might be good, in getting 1 zombie, but, usually that's not a great trade-off for you. But basically, this can be some graveyard protection saying, you know what, let me just get those things back, into my library, and, I'll make a zombie that way. And then if I'm okay with 1 or 2 things getting exiled from my graveyard anyways, I'll let those things get exiled as well. And then I get another zombie from you exiling my things too. So that can help out. Skull Prophet also helps out in multiple ways. It's a 3/1 human druid for black and a green. You can tap to add black or green, and you can tap to mill 2. So yeah, basically this is either a mana dork or a mill effect for you as well. So that's fantastic for this kind of a deck. Path of Discovery, though, is probably the best out of all of your kind of mill effects for the deck. It's an enchantment that costs 3 and a green. It says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. So then you're going to reveal the top card of your library. You put that card in your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, you put a ++1 counter on that creature, then put it back on top or into your graveyard. Yeah, so this one is basically, okay, when your zombie comes in, and again, I guess I should mention, this does not say non-token, and that is the big thing for this card. So when your zombie comes into play, it explores. If it's a land on top, goes in your hand, great, that's card advantage. If it's not a land on top, great as well. Your zombie gets bigger, and then you can also decide to either keep that on top or put in your graveyard. Most of the time, you're probably just going to be milling yourself because, again, yeah, that's what this deck is trying to do. So you're basically going to be getting a zombie, milling yourself further, and so you're not really kind of losing any of those cards in your graveyard when you are removing them. Speaking of removing those cards, we're going to be using cards like Withered Wretch, Wood Wraith Strangler, that's tough to say, Raven's Crime as well. Withered Wretch has pay 1, exile target card from a graveyard. This is just, yeah, a fantastic card from this deck. Paying 1 mana to exile any of our cards is fantastic. Again, it's a repeatable effect, so we can get multiple instances out of it whenever we have the mana to do so. Can also be a great graveyard hate piece against other graveyard decks. So yeah, if someone else is trying to reanimate things out of their deck, or their graveyard, we can just say, nope, you don't get that, we're going to exile instead. So this can be a fantastic, repeatable one. Wood Wraith Strangler can be even better in the right situation. It has remove a creature card in your graveyard from the game, regenerate Wood Wraith Strangler. Again, that name is hard to say. My apologies. But basically, this is a repeatable one for free that protects itself. Now, it only lets you exile creature cards out of your graveyard, but again, if you've got, 10 creature cards in your graveyard right before your turn starts, you can just exile all those for free and then have this, giant army of zombies in play basically out of nowhere. Raven's Crime is a repeatable one because it has Retrace. It says target player discards a card and it's a sorcery for a black. So basically, Retrace means that you can cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other cost. So basically, for a black and discarding a land, you can make someone discard, and then you also are getting that Raven's Crime technically out of your graveyard temporarily, and it goes back into your graveyard when you're casting it. So you get that token as well. So basically, you just pay a black mana and discarding a land to make a zombie token and to make someone discard, and that's a really good repeatable value for this kind of a deck. And you can also actually target yourself if you really need to discard another card, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, there are certain cards in your graveyard that can actually get themselves out, which is great. Reassembling Skeleton, Scrap Heap Scrounger, and Stinkweed Imp are 3 examples. Reassembling Skeleton, pay 1 into black, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tap. So yeah, basically, hey, get this 1/1 back out for 2 mana, and also you get a zombie because it left. Scrap Heap Scrounger kind of takes this to a different kind of a level. I guess it's somewhat better and worse than that. Pay 1 to black, exile another creature card from your graveyard, return Scrap Heap Scrounger from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's a 3/2 that can't block, but yeah, basically, again, you're getting that back out for just 2 mana. You have to exile another creature card, but for this kind of a deck, that's actually a benefit. So this leaves the graveyard, your other creature card leaves your graveyard, and then you get 2 zombies for the price of 2 mana, and you're getting that 3/2 into play as well. Stinkweed Imp is just a 1/2 with flying. When it deals combat damage to a creature, you destroy that creature, and it's got Dredge 5, and again, that Dredge 5 is the big piece for this. Dredging says if you would draw a card, instead you may put exactly 5 cards on the top of your library into your graveyard. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand, otherwise draw a card. Essentially, it's a replacement for a draw effect. It's basically, okay, I'm going to mill myself for 5 and get this out of my graveyard and put it into my hand. So basically, for free, cost of drawing a card, of not drawing a card, you get a 2/2 zombie now, you mill yourself for 5, and you get this back in your hand. So yeah, this kind of a dredge effect, other kinds of dredge cards are going to be big in a deck like this. There's going to be some more cards that kind of work in somewhat similar ways, getting cards into your graveyard as well as getting them out. Blood Curdler is a good example to start. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, put the top card of your library into your graveyard. It also has Threshold. It gets +1/+1 and has at the end of your turn, remove 2 cards in your graveyard from the game. So this one, first off, is going to be milling you for 1 every single turn, or every single one of your turns. And then it also, once you have Threshold, which is not hard to get in a deck like this, although it might be hard to maintain at a certain point, it's going to be able to help you exile cards out of your graveyard to get you those zombies as well, or a zombie as well. Again, it's exiling 2. You still only get 1 because it's 1 effect. Decaying Soil is one that can help them out in multiple ways as well. So at the beginning of your upkeep, remove a card in your graveyard from the game, and it's got Threshold. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from play, you may pay 1. If you do, return that card to your hand. And so basically, again, with the Threshold mechanic, I guess I should have mentioned this before. I don't think I did. But you need 7 or more cards in your graveyard to have Threshold. Decaying Soil at first is just going to help you exile 1 card each upkeep, which is great. And then again, whenever a non-token creature is put in your graveyard, you can get it back just by paying 1. So basically, if a creature of yours dies, which is bound to happen, you pay 1, it leaves the graveyard, it comes back to your hand, and then you essentially get a zombie for just doing that. You're paying 1 mana to get a creature that just died back, and you get a zombie. That's a huge deal. Tortured Existence doesn't really provide you kind of any card advantage or help, but it is kind of a weird, quirky card that really works well in this kind of a deck. Pay a black, choose and discard a creature card, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This is just a, hey, I'll pay a black, I'll discard a creature, I get another creature back. Okay, I'll pay a black, I'll discard that creature, get the other creature back. You just keep looping this over and over and over again. Basically, you're paying 1 mana to get a zombie, essentially. You can just do that. As long as you have one creature in your hand and one in your graveyard, you can just keep doing this over and over and over again. Obviously, you can, pitch creatures that you want in your graveyard, maybe like that Stickweed Imp, and then you can, get back actual more valuable creatures. So, yeah, that's actually, a benefit too. But the main purpose of this card in this deck is just, hey, let's just make zombies for a black mana. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting and unique card for this kind of a deck. And then we're going to be running some flexible cards with the MDFCs, those modal dual-face lands. Malakir Rebirth and Balaged Recovery are two that we're going to be running in this deck. Both can either be basically a land that comes into play tapped, or they've got another effect, so they have a lot of flexibility, and they don't really take up any space in the deck because it's just a land slot, which is nice. Malakir Rebirth is an instant that says choose target creature, you lose 2 life until end of turn when that creature gains. When this creature dies, returns to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So this is just a way to essentially say, hey, you're trying to kill one of my creatures, including maybe one of my commanders. I'm going to get them right back. I'll lose 2 life. That's great. Or that's great. Not the great that I lose 2 life, but it's great that I get them back. And then essentially, yeah, because that creature went into the graveyard and then came back out, I get a zombie as well. Balaged Recovery is basically a regrowth for 3 mana. It says return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So yeah, this gets you a card back, and again, you're going to be getting a zombie on top of that, so that's just extra value, which is really nice for a deck like this. Finally, let's talk about some finishers other than Kamahl that can really help us out. Second Harvest is the first one that comes to mind. It says for each token you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. Yeah, so let's say you've got 20 zombies in play, which is definitely doable with a deck like this. Now you've got 40, and again, that's at instant speed, so you do this right before your turn, and then you surprise your opponents, and then get Kamahl out, and then they're all 5/5, so good luck surviving that. Desecrated Tomb is just some nice additional benefit whenever you are getting creature cards out of your graveyard, which you are going to be doing quite a bit with this kind of a deck. It says whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. So this is kind of like your commander. Again, it is more specific just for creature cards, but it does create, flyers, which is nice. Sir Conrad the Grim is, of course, a fantastic finisher for any kind of a mill deck that's looking to move cards around. It says whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. And then you can also pay 1 black to mill each player 1. Yeah, this is just a fantastic card for this kind of a deck. Again, you're going to be moving creatures around here, there, everywhere. If they're leaving your graveyard, going into your graveyard, you're going to be pinging everyone. And yeah, it's just a fantastic card for this kind of a deck. But yeah, I'm really excited about this Tormod Kamahl deck. I went back and forth and trying to pick what exact kind of partner I wanted for Tormod, and I ended up leaning on Kamahl for a couple of reasons. Kamahl is one of my favorite characters from when I was younger, and just started kind of playing in Odyssey. I believe Kamal's from Odyssey or Onslaught, one of those, regardless. But yeah, definitely pairs well with that, +3/+3, and helping Tormod kind of get big with those zombies. Again, there's other things that you could have chosen, other partners you could have chosen for a Tormod kind of a deck. But yeah, this is the one that I landed on. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for today. I'm going to be including the link to this deck list in the description below. And actually, I should have mentioned this before. This is a $50 deck, not including the cost of the commanders. I made this deck for a league that I'm playing with some friends, and those are the rules. So that's what I did. Anyways, I'd love to hear from you, though. Let me know what your thoughts on this deck are. Let me know what cards I'm missing in my list that you think I should be including. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks again, and have a good one.